In the video, title and thumbnail should hint at it, this is going to talk about how to increase your chances of getting a weapon in or unit to a high slot number. Note that this is not 100% foolproof. This is not a guarantee. There will be RNG on top of this. This will increase your chances compared to someone who isn't using these particular things, but the problem is this is an MMORPG game. And when it comes to farming and trying to get stuff, there's going to be some RNG here and there, and this is one of them. So even though you're farming for a particular ability, the chances of it dropping depends. When it comes to me talking about this, note that I have been farming for a long time and I know a bunch of farmers as well, because this is how we were able to get a good chunk of the setup. But Global was able to capitalize on that in certain fields. I'll explain a bit more at the end of the video. I'm going to bring up Global again and something to consider, but this is a speculation slash I'm not 100% sure on this, but this might be a thing. So this is not 100% foolproof. However, this will increase your chances compared to someone who isn't emphasizing on this. But you do have to understand, I'm going to emphasize this one last time, there is RNG behind it. If you're not familiar with that word, look it up. It's a fancy way of saying it's randomized. It's not 100% foolproof. You have the Monkey King Bar, you have the gun slash. It's not a guarantee you're getting an 8 slot. It's a higher chance in someone who doesn't have it, but RNG can say otherwise, because there's been times when I try to farm for certain weapons at an 8 slot and it doesn't give me that certain slot number. It gives me a 7 slot, but once again, this is entirely up to fucking RNG. So you have to always remember RNG is going to be a thing. Second thing I do need to talk about, this one is that one that I'm not 100% sure on, but with Global PSO2 they might have toyed around with the numbers. What do I mean by that? Usually when you play a video game, there's certain percentages. I don't know if Global actually tampered around with the drop rates for 8 slots, because a lot of guys, especially when the game was out and when I was talking to them and giving them some pointers and stuff, they said they haven't seen a lot of 8 slots, and I think that still rings true to right now as well. And in all honesty, once again, that might lead up to that speculation where Global toyed around with those drop rates. Is that a good and a bad thing? I don't know. They might make it a bit easier once you guys get into endgame content. But yeah, I've seen my fair share of 8 slots. Back then in episode 1, well, I didn't play in episode 1. But back then when I was farming in episode 2 and 3, I did see 8 slots. I did get 8 slots. I sold those for a shit ton back in the days over here in the Japanese PS2. But once again, because of Global and how they were doing things, they didn't really do that, and there's that possibility as well. And not only that, with the Global PS2, especially from episode 1 through 4, they didn't really give the Monkey King Bar in the gun slash. They did release that in episode 5 by adding it to the X-Cube and full, well, I think it's the X-Cube shop only, but that's the thing, they added that in episode 5 when they could have added it in the beginning, especially if you didn't want to spend as much. Once again, I'll get on this particular, or I'll talk about this again at the end of this video. Anyways, enough of that intro, let's get started. Depending on what you want to see, you can look in the description for those time skips. Since I mentioned them in the intro, I'm going to talk about them. I already made a video going into some history lessons and basic breakdowns on these two. You can look above my head in the upper right corner or in the description. You want to watch that video to understand this. Now, I will add on to that in this video. There's one thing that I didn't mention that I didn't know about actually when it comes to this gun slash. And I had to talk to my augment farming friend because he did farm a bunch of augments on weapons. The thing about this gun slash, it's not stated within its text. You will notice it if you farm a bunch and you just do a lot of compare and contrast and you write down a bunch of data stuff. I don't have that. I might actually experiment with that later. But my friend explained to me that if you have this gun slash, most of your weapon drops are going to have a +1, +2 in terms of the slot. So if most weapons are dropping at a 5 slot, there's a chance that it could be at a 6 slot, 7 slot with this on you. Now, is this 100% guaranteed? Hell fucking no, it's not. But it's better than nothing. And this is very niche and very specific too. Once again, it's not stated on here, but I trusted my friend because one, he does a bunch of augment farming, and secondly, he did hit 1 billion before my sorry ass. He did hit 1 billion Meseta back in like episode 3 of the Japanese PS2. Episode 3, episode 4, compared to me where I hit my 1 billion and 2 billion roughly around like 2019, 2020 in episode 5 into episode 6. So I'll trust his word on that, and this is why you would want to invest in the gun slash, especially if you are planning to do weapon augment farming. Now, when it comes to going, well, I forgot to mention that part, but when it comes to doing these client orders for Zig, I will have a separate video for that for both global and Japan. I am going to be very thorough with that one, especially for the Japanese side, because they have to go through O-type grinding, and that is a monster in itself. So you will want to invest in these two if you were trying to do a bunch of weapon augment farming. If you're doing unit augment farming, which what I capitalize on and do, I would just have the Monkey King Bar. I barely use this, but I started to use this in something like the Rainbow Tokyo quest key, because they drop union weapons. I want to try to get them to an 8 slot. So I would have these two in my inventory, but I wouldn't have this weapon on me all the time, because once again, when I mentioned this particular gun slash in that history lesson video above my head, this will stack against you. Now, will it be that bad? I don't know. I don't know what your financial situation is, but for me personally, I do not want to spend a lot of meseta just to untech a bunch of stuff. I want it to count towards something that I'm okay with. So I would actually do it for certain weapons that do need to try to be at an 8 slot, but everything else I wouldn't try to use this gun slash for. So that is something to note. It's just that overall you want these two. If you were being casual and stuff, you might just want to invest in the Monkey King Bar. If you're doing unit fixes more than weapons, get the Monkey King Bar. Once again, I'm going to be repeating this a lot. This is not a guarantee. There is RNG behind it still, but it will increase your chances compared to someone who doesn't have it. Moving on, let's go to the next point. So, obviously, rare drop rate boosters. You can just use a 250 and a tri boost to just get that 350. If you want to stack as many boosters as you can for certain things, then go for it. Specifically, why I'm bringing this up is due to SSAs and just higher rarity stuff in general, because guess what? If you are aiming for particular SAFs, most of the good ones are on 13-star weapons and above, and when it comes to certain unit SAFs as well, it's going to be on units or 13-star units and above. So you would definitely want to pop these boosters. Now, will it aid in terms of your slot number? I can't really say, because it does help, it does not. I'm not 100% sure, because once again, RNG is very, very fucking unpredictable in this game. So there have been moments where I didn't even have a rare drop rate booster. I only had the Monkey King Bar and I got stuff at an 8 slot. And then there are moments where I only had like a rare drop rate booster, and then I'm farming something and then I actually got stuff to drop at an 8 slot. Then again, it could just be RNG. But here's the thing, just pop a rare drop rate boost, because it's not going to hurt you. It's going to give you a slight edge compared to dealing with the normal drop rate. So having something is better than nothing. Just pop some rare drop rate boosters every now and then for certain quests, and also, once again, have those two things that I mentioned at the first point, the Monkey King Bar and the gun slash. Third point, timed abilities. Like my second point talking about RDR, guess what? If you get a timed ability that is specifically with rare drop rate for that certain area, that just increases your chances. It's gonna be better than not having any sort of increase whatsoever. If you're not familiar with it, you want to go to the Visa phone, the purple pink question mark thingy console. You want to click on it, go to craft, go to crafter search, go for it, search for time abilities, and then search for the particular area. Now, if you got any questions about this, don't ask me. I'm not the best go-to guy when it comes to giving you what time abilities are for what area and if it works and whatnot. You might want to ask the PSO2 Fleet Discord, the main PSO2 Discord for that. But yeah, you want to grab these. Now, when you grab these, they will come with certain effects. The big one you want to keep an eye out for is the main effect. So to read this quickly, you want to go to the data drive detail box, and then you want to see that main effect, and you see that this one drops over drop bonus 5. Bonus 5 is the highest of its kind. Now for the sub effect and the bonus effect, that varies. However, I think the highest one that a lot of people would go for would be the attack one, and some of these people would just have a timed ability on them just so they can go for the attack one. Paladin, I'm in his room right now. If you request something from him, obviously you can see his username and stuff, but if I go to this one, you'll see that it's a boost towards Armada Battlesphere. This doesn't give a rare drop rate, sadly. It does give you experience gain, but look at how much you're getting in terms of sub and bonus. That is 70 R attack. So if you got something like my unit piece where it's only, what is it? Where it's only 220, out of 72 that you got 290. But once again, that ultimately falls on what sub abilities you want and what the main abilities are. You would want time attacks though if you were farming continuously in a certain area. In my opinion, this is optional, but hey, look, it does increase your chances if you're pushing for all these different rare drop rate boosts. The Umbra stick, because guess what? The Umbra stick has something called Temptation, which gives you a plus 10% to rare drop rates. But if you're able to untech this with one of these Lucky Rise abilities, grade 1, 2, 3, then you'll get an additional rare drop. So you don't really need to do as much like the Monkey King Bar and the Gun Slash, but if you're able to get your hands on one of these, they might be able to help you in your endeavors. Now, is this a guaranteed? Once again, nope, because RNG is such a bitch, but at the very least, you got something like this. The only problem with having the Umbra stick is that you do need to physically have this equipped before you break the crystal, which is why back then, a good chunk of people actually waited before you break the crystal, but nowadays, not a lot of people do that. Moving on. And since I talked about the Lucky Rise thing, guess what? There are unit pieces over here that do have this ability. However, I don't remember if you can actually affix it. I tried to do it in a fix simulator and it's not working. So to briefly show you guys, let me go over here and you can see that Lucky Rise is not popping up as well. Apparently that popped up now. What happens if I get rid of it? So it does work, but there are some conditionals. You need a gift receptor. I have no clue where the fuck to get this gift receptor. But for it to even work, you do need to have a good chunk of these things. And I think my pal actually dived into this stuff. So I will have a separate video mentioning this, but as you can see, with me trying to push for a grade 2 with this, I do need multiple Lucky Rides, and then I also need that gift receptor. But you can put this on units, and that's what my friend did in the past. I think he was able to get a good Lucky Rise 3 out of these. What he had to do, I think he got a gift receptor for it, but he got a gift receptor, then he started to just deal with this, and then he was able to get a Lucky Rise 3. I'll toy around with this in a separate video, going further into the fixed formula for it. But yeah, that's the thing. He did have Lucky Rise abilities. This kind of goes in with all the other points after that Monkey King Bar and the Gun Slash. But yeah, that's how you get Lucky Rise on the units and then try to gamble and try to push it. Well, yeah, try to gamble and push it to Lucky Rise 3. And that concludes this video. Ultimately, here's the thing. It's still RNG. Even though you have all these things to help you, RNG is still going to be a bitch. But the big thing is, if you really want to go into augment farming, I would suggest the first point that I mentioned, which is to get the Monkey King Bar and the Gun Slash. This will help you tremendously. I always have the Monkey King Bar on me when I farm for serious things, and there's chances that it does drop at higher slot numbers. Granted that there are some moments where I don't even get anything that good, so get those two. Everything else after that, 0.2, 3, 4, 5, it's optional. And note that there are more drop boosters, rare drop rate boosters in this game. There's try boost, there's team boost, and all that. However, once again, even though you have the highest rare drop rate boost, RNG might be able to say fuck you and not give you anything at all. But at the very least, you got the two particular items that might be able to play a factor into these very niche specific things, especially if you're trying to get higher slots. Note that I do need to mention how difficulty, if you're playing on ultra hard, it's not true that you're going to get most of the abilities here and there. You can actually play at a lower difficulty to get a good chunk of ability augments to drop. But this is very situational because guess what? There's SAFs and SSAs, and most of those are actually on higher end rarity weapons. And guess what? Some of these higher end rarity weapons and units, they only drop at higher difficulties. I'll make a separate video emphasizing a bit more on this later, but that is it for this video, talking about what you can do to increase your chances. Ultimately, it's going to be a good chunk of rare drop rates, but the big two, once again, Monkey King Bar and that Gun Slash. A good chunk of people already pointed that out. The big thing that I got irked at, and now this goes into my opinion, about global and what they did. My opinion pretty much is that I wish these two items were already out in the game from the beginning. Note that global PSO2, or first it named PSO2, then it went global, did not have these two until episode 5. I kind of get what global was doing, but at the same time, you should give them the option to do what they want to do. The play is what they want to do. You should not restrict them, and you should not give out like some of the stuff that was from the beginning at a later point. And from what I saw, especially in terms of the market from episode 1 through 4, and even to episode 5, where people were like pricing some goddamn abilities and augments at stupid prices, I was dumbfounded, and I kind of got jealous, because guess what? That was a shit ton more money than what the Japanese PSO2 had in some of their certain units and weapon augments, and how many slots it was and stuff. You could easily get like 4 billion from selling a 4-slot quartz, so that is easy to farm for. I don't know why was that certain unit piece, like during the episode 4 boost week or something. I don't know why that thing was fucking 4 mil. That thing shouldn't have been at 4 mil. But guess what? It was at 4 mil. And what I could have done was capitalize on that. And I think some of the power 3s or might 3s over there at a 4-slot was expensive as well. You can gain a lot of profit from it. Now, can you do that now? Slightly. There are, once again, easier ways to get them. And once you guys hit endgame, I feel like once, global's gonna spoil the shit out of you. No goddamn lie. And then 2, stuff is going to be easier to farm for. So if you bought like returners for a shit ton, guess what? There's actually returner farming possibility, or veteran resolve farming, that is way easier than fucking abduction. And you shouldn't spend as much. If you did spend a lot on returners, I give you my highest regards, but you should have waited, because I called it. Like, if Japanese PSO2 is going to make a bunch of stuff easy, they're going to do it. And they already done it for like several cases. And right now they're kind of going down on that path, because maybe NJS has come around the corner. They want everyone to get the endgame stuff so they can carry it on later, maybe over to NGS. I'm not sure about the specific details of NGS in terms of the weapons and gear and augment carrying over. But the thing is, they're making Japanese PS2 easy for endgame stuff, and that's going to carry over to global. And with what global has been doing, it's going to be even easier. It's just that you guys are still behind in several aspects, but separate video for all that. That is it for this video. The big thing is you want that Monkey King Bar and you want that gun slash. Make sure you do them. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put it down below. That is it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.